When a tank went silent in the Second World War, it wasn't always because the battle had ended. Sometimes it was because the crew was still inside, alive, waiting, trapped beneath tons of steel and earth. Tanks were fortresses, but they were also coffins when immobilized or buried by shellfire. What kept some of those men alive wasn't luck. It was the emergency survival box, a small overlooked compartment designed for moments when escape was impossible. What it contained reveals more about human resilience, preparation, and ingenuity than any modern survival gadget ever could. Tank warfare demanded survival beyond the battlefield. Second World War tank crews operated in environments where mobility and survival were constantly at odds. A direct hit could jam a hatch, disable the engine, or bury the tank in debris. Even if the crew wasn't injured, they could be sealed inside with limited oxygen and no radio contact. Engineers understood this reality early on and developed an emergency kit that transformed the tank into a short-term life support system. Each crew compartment had a sealed survival box containing compact rations, water, oxygen candles, and small tools. It wasn't about comfort. It was about extending life long enough for recovery crews to dig them out or for the battle to move on. For modern preppers who rely on vehicles, RVs, or mobile shelters, that concept, surviving inside an immobile machine, is more relevant than it seems. Oxygen candles and chemical air regeneration were the heart of survival inside. When a tank was sealed, oxygen depletion became the first threat. The Soviets and Germans developed small canisters called oxygen candles, which released breathable oxygen when ignited through a chemical reaction. These weren't open flames. They worked through oxidation of sodium chlorate or potassium superoxide, a process that absorbed carbon dioxide and moisture while releasing oxygen. In simple terms, they recycled air. Crews were trained to use them sparingly. One candle could support 3 men for several hours, but improper use risked overheating the compartment. That lesson still holds true today for anyone planning sealed or underground vehicle setups. If your bug-out vehicle, van, or prepper rig ever becomes your last line of shelter, oxygen management matters as much as food or fuel. Fresh air exchange should never be an afterthought. Modern equivalents, portable oxygen generators, small carbon dioxide scrubbers, or air-purifying canisters, all trace their design logic back to these wartime chemical systems. The rations inside were small, calculated, and purely functional. Tank crews didn't have the space for bulky provisions. The emergency rations were designed for calorie density and stability, not taste. A typical ration included hard biscuits pressed with meat fat, chocolate tablets, sugar, and vitamin supplements. Each pack provided around 1,000 calories, intended to keep 3 men alive for 24 hours at minimal exertion. The psychology behind those rations is vital for modern preparedness. Inside a confined space, stress and oxygen use increase with activity. World War II crews were trained to conserve motion, speak less, and remain calm to stretch oxygen and energy. The takeaway is simple. In any survival confinement, whether stuck in a snowbound car or shelter, energy conservation is a resource. Today, high-calorie survival bars and electrolyte mixes are the direct descendants of those tank biscuits. Compact nutrition saves lives when every breath and calorie counts. When tanks were partially buried, complete communication failure was common. That's where the periscope mirror became more than an optical tool. It became a survival instrument. Crews could use the angled mirrors to reflect sunlight or flashlight beams through cracks or ventilation ports, signaling for help. Some tanks even carried small signal flags or coloured cloth strips for this exact purpose. Modern survivalists can apply the same principle. Any reflective surface, from a vehicle's rearview mirror to a compact signal mirror, can transmit distress signals farther and faster than a flashlight. For those who drive in remote areas, keeping a dedicated mirror and whistle in the glove compartment isn't outdated paranoia. It's practical preparation drawn straight from history. Water scarcity was another silent killer. Tank interiors reached extreme temperatures, and, well, fluid loss through sweat could be fatal within just a few hours. Some crews learned to collect condensation from the metal walls, wiping it into cloth and squeezing it into canteens. Others rationed coolant fluid, even boiling it if necessary through the engine's heat exchanger. The logic here remains essential. Every vehicle can generate water through condensation or coolant distillation if handled properly. Modern preppers with bug-out rigs can actually replicate this by setting up condensation collectors or portable desalination kits powered by engine heat. WWII. Tankers taught that survival doesn't depend on abundance, but on adapting the materials already inside your environment. Perhaps the most overlooked component of the World War II tank survival system wasn't physical at all. It was mental discipline. Crews trained to handle absolute confinement without panic, you know. They practiced lowering their breathing rate, maintaining silence, and rotating shifts of rest to conserve oxygen. That calm under pressure, well, it saved countless lives. For anyone who has spent time in enclosed shelters or prepping scenarios, that mindset is gold. Equipment can fail, but control of your mental state is the single survival variable that never runs out. The old manuals used a simple technique: controlled breathing through counting. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 6 seconds out. It slowed metabolism, reduced carbon dioxide buildup, and kept focus sharp. That's still a reliable method during high-stress confinement situations today. Modern preppers love mobility, the idea of escaping danger with a fully stocked truck or van. But World War II tankers remind us of the opposite reality. Sometimes you can't move. Your vehicle becomes your world. That's when your survival depends on redundancy, space management, and mental control. If you build a vehicle-based survival setup, think in layers like the tank engineers did. Start with breathable air. At least 2 passive vents or fans with backup filters. Add a compact chemical air cleaner or small oxygen canister. Store emergency rations that can endure heat, such as compressed bars or freeze-dried meals. Keep at least 1 signaling tool, mirror, flare or LED, and a method for water condensation. It's not glamorous, but it's proven. World War II tanks were survival capsules under fire, and their design still informs modern military and emergency vehicles today. The men who served inside those steel beasts left behind more than stories. They left a survival doctrine forged under the harshest conditions, trapped, isolated and calm. Their gear may look primitive by modern standards, but it solved the same problems we still face: air, water, food and time. If you value the lost lessons of human ingenuity under pressure, subscribe to Backyard Wisdom. Every story uncovers the forgotten survival tactics that worked when everything else failed. Share this with anyone who thinks survival is about fancy tools, because the World War II tank crews proved it's really about what you do when there's nowhere left to go.